What's up, guys? Welcome to Books Are Sick. I am Nick. This is week 19 of Books Being Sick. Thanks for tuning in. I love doing these from my desk updates here. There's never really much of a plan, and I just enjoy the kind of chaos of it. Although the end of the month ones are always a bit easier because we are going to talk about the books I read in the month of April. We got 7 of them total. I got some fun book mail, some other stuff to talk about. I'm going to talk about my VHS of the week, book club, and all that sort of stuff. So we'll just jump into it. First off, we'll get into the books that I read this past month. For those that watch these weekly videos, you pretty well know what those books are, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time on them, but I do have one new one that I didn't mention last week, and that is The Rise and Fall of the Dinosaurs by Steve Brusatte. This was a really fun read. I finished this yesterday, and if you even kind of like dinosaurs, you're going to love this book. Steve Brusatte, I hope I'm saying his name right, his energy and excitement for dinosaurs is just, it oozes through this book. Like, he makes you excited because you're just excited for him. You know what I mean? He seems like such a likable guy, and his energy for dinosaurs and paleontology is just so... It's so palpable, you know? So I was just excited for him reading this book. I was like, yeah, Steve, that's awesome, you know? But it is really, really, really well done, and it does a very clear history of the beginning to end of the dinosaurs, and I feel like I learned a whole lot reading this book. And, you know, there's a couple chapters that are particularly exciting, namely the one where he's, you know, actually describing certain dinosaurs, because there's a lot of this book, it spends a lot of time on actual, like, dinosaur bones and digging and stories from his paleontology life that are very exciting. But when he does get into actually describing, like, a brontosaurus and, like, exactly what a brontosaurus does, it is pretty exciting. And there's a particular one where he does have a full section on the T-Rex, and what makes that section so exciting is that he even says, because of the popularity and how famous the T-Rex is, so much money and science has been put into finding out about them that we actually know more about the T-Rex than we do about certain living mammals right now, which is kind of insane, right? So yeah, it's pretty crazy the amount that you can learn about a dinosaur that lived 60 billion years ago. It's very, very fascinating. And there's also a fantastic chapter on how the dinosaur era, the Triassic era, ended, and that was pretty mind-blowing too, because I had never realized that was just a fact, that it was kind of factual what happened. I thought it was kind of up in the air. Evidently not. So it's a really fantastic read. I would highly recommend that to anyone who is even sort of interested in dinosaurs. It was just really fun. Really fun. Steve Brusatte did a great job. He's got another book too, I believe, called The Rise of the Mammals, which I want to say probably takes place right after where this book ends. I'm going to be picking that one up for sure because his writing was really fun. Really quickly, the other books I read this month are this one. I'm not going to say the name, but this was about the Nan King Massacre. I'm only not saying the name because I don't think that you're allowed to. I don't really know what the YouTube rules are. Fantastic book, but very, very heart-wrenching and will leave you feeling pretty wrecked, but definitely an important read. I didn't know much about the Nan King Massacre, and now I do, and I'm glad that I do, because I feel like it should be much more well known. But yeah, so that was a heavy read. Another heavy read was The Things They Carried by Tim O'Brien. This is a historical fiction about Vietnam and a certain particular platoon that we're following. Really interesting, kind of just chopped up into a bunch of different stories, but very interesting read. Let's get into, I read 2 Cormac McCarthy novels this month, my 2 first Cormac novels, and I'm on the train. I'm on the Cormac train. I think he's one of the best writers that I've read today. I absolutely loved both of these books. The book club book for the Sick Book Club this past month was The Road, so that kind of forced me into reading my first Cormac book. The Road is a similar pattern with most of these books I read this month. Devastating, pretty hard to read, but the way that he writes is very poetic and just beautiful. And although the first few pages kind of took me a minute to really get into, I was kind of, wow, this, because his writing style can be jarring if you're not used to it. So it was like, whoa, okay. But you kind of fall into this trance after a few pages, and it is beautiful. It is really beautiful. Loved The Road. That's about a father and a son basically traveling across a burnt out America, trying to find refuge, and it's great. And I loved it so much that I picked up No Country for Old Men by Cormac right after that, and read it in almost a day. It was this is stunning. I've always loved No Country for Old Men, the movie, and the book just blew my mind. It blew my mind. Every single page has a little paragraph on it that is just like the greatest thing you'll ever read. You know, he's Cormac, man. He's really good. He's really good at that. He's really good at writing. Okay, I have two more. Of The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. I threw this one in there. I love throwing a book like this in to my monthly reads because I do tend to read heavier, tragic, more devastating things. I'm just drawn to those books more than any other book, and so I do like to throw in a book like this just to kind of, palate cleanser sort of book. And this was really fun. It's about a witch that falls in love with a librarian, and I won't go too far into it, but it's a really heartwarming, fun little book. And I read one of the best books I've ever read this past month. Maybe the best book I've ever read. I cannot stop thinking about this book. I've mentioned it over on my socials that I think this might take the lead for my favorite book of all time. I liked it that much, and that is Stoner by John Williams. This book is just it. I feel like I'm glad I read it when I did, because I think if I had read this when I was, in my 20s or like a teenager, not that I read during those decades of my life, but if I did, I don't think this would have hit me the way it hit me as a 36-year-old. I'm not saying like, oh, 36, so old, but, I just, the point I am at in my life, this really hit hard, it's funny because the story is to describe the story is so boring, it's about the beginning to end of this man, William Stoner's life, and how he goes to attend college at Columbia University and then goes on to be a professor there for the rest of his life. And it's just about his marriage, his professional life, and his child, his friendships, and other such things that pop up. But nothing really big happens. It's all very mundane stuff. And I think that's why it hit me as hard as it did, is the way John Williams wrote this story about a very regular, normal person had me, by the end of it, just rethinking my life. I was like, wow, I just gotta, I don't want to get to the end and then that's it. You know what I mean? Like, I'm having I've had a very, very hard time trying to explain why I love this book as much as I do. I've thought about it all week. I've sat on my couch and stared at a wall and just tried to think about why this book hit me the way it did, and I'm having a very hard time coming up with why. But it is just my favorite book so far. I can't wait to reread it, and I just can't stop thinking about it. I just cannot stop thinking about it, and I don't know why. So I've got Butcher's Crossing on the list for May. Which is also a John Williams book, apparently totally different, more of a Western, but I need to get more of John Williams writing in my life because that book just blew my mind. Okay, so obviously if I had to pick a favorite from last month, it's going to be John Williams' Stoner, but yeah, anyway, okay, moving on. So, VHS of the week. I have this VHS TV here, you can't really see it, but I tend to pick one or two VHSs a week, and then they just live in that VCR for the week, and just kind of replaying while I'm here working. And so this week, I popped in Rear Window by Alfred Hitchcock, and I have been watching this all week. It's probably rotated 10 or 15 times, and it's one of my favorite movies ever. So I've had a good week watching this one. It never gets old. I could watch this 15 more times over the next couple days and not be bored of it. If you've not seen Rear Window, it is a classic, and it is just it makes me feel happy. It's like it's a homey feeling watching that movie. I just feel very safe. If that makes sense. I love it. What else is going on? Oh, I did want to mention to you, I have these this is kind of fun. The Books Are Sick shirts on this Comfort Colors mossy green, if you can see it there, and the Books Are Sick tote, as you can see here, These are both available right now. I'll put the link down below for you. I'm going to have this go live, I believe, until the plan is tomorrow night, which will be Friday, May 3rd. So I might keep it open for the weekend, but the plan right now is to close it tomorrow, Friday, May 3rd in the evening. The tote is nice and tough, so you can fit a lot of books in there and not worry about it. And again, the shirt is on the Comfort Colors tag, just like the Spine Breakers were. If you're interested, like, no pressure. I just wanted to mention it. It's I'll put the link down there if you're interested. Book mail. I did get some fun book mail. My buddy Kayuli Rare Books, who I believe I've mentioned on here a few times before. He runs an Instagram page where he basically shows and sells rare books, and he's just like a really sweet guy, and I love him. And he sent me a package, and I didn't know he was sending me anything, and he friggin' sent me a first edition of Misery. Got all watery-eyed when I opened that because of just the kindness of it was amazing. And Misery is one of my favorite books of all time. And I was thinking about it the other day, and I think if you're going to read Misery for the first time and you live in the north anywhere, you should wait for a really snowy day where you're feeling a little trapped in and start reading Misery. And I feel like it'll hit you that much harder. I can't wait to do that this next winter. I think that's going to be on the agenda. Wait for a snowy, really, really snowy, stormy day and start that book again because, yeah. I also got this cool book mail here. I had never heard of this book. This is Sometimes a Great Notion by Ken Kesey. I'm going to show it there. And this was sent to me from a bookstore owner in Massachusetts. I hope I'm saying that right. That is a word I don't think I've actually ever said properly, so I apologize. And they have a bookstore called A Great Notion, I think. A Great Notion Books. So he sent me this book because it's his favorite book of all time, and him and his wife opened a bookstore called A Great Notion based on this book. And I just thought that was really, really cool. They sent me a letter just kind of explaining that, and that is just the coolest thing in the world to me. So A Great Nation Books in Massachusetts. If you're in the area, go check that out for sure. And I can't wait to check out Sometimes a Great Notion. He mentioned in his letter that it's one of the toughest reads of all time, so kind of a hard sell. but he said it's worth it. It's his favorite book of all time, so that's got to mean something. What else do we have going on here? I was going to I'll do that in a second. Oh, actually, no, I'll do it now. The book of the book club book for May. Guys, hold on. The book club book for May is A Secret History by Donna Tartt. I have a copy here. Bam. Haven't started it yet, but this is the book club book for May if you want to join along. The book club is hosted over on Patreon. I'll have the link below for you. So we are reading A Secret History by Donna Tartt, as I mentioned, and also The Drawing of the Three, which is our series that we're doing a read-along with. The Drawing of the Three is book 2 in the Dark Tower series. Very excited for both of those. The Drawing of the Three is an amazing book, and I can't wait to check out The Secret History because I just keep hearing about how great it is. Modern classic. Very excited for that. Real quickly, I was just going to shout out the new Patreoners. I hope I don't miss anybody. I kind of got lost on where I left off here, but I'm going to go really quick. We got Lean Verbracken, Heather Mason, Danielle, Elizabeth Brown, Joshua Loper, Nain Vardanya, Kristen Chance, Kevin Kuskavage, Katie Henthorne, Ali Pendrin, Lost Legend, Gail, Patricia, Charlie, Randy, Bethany Gober, Becca Brazil, Drew Kilker, Monica, Sarah Berbreiker, Libby, Sarah Hansen, Mark Saffel, Olivia Lieberman, Courtney Pearson, Lorianne Williamson, Kyle McCormick, Will Roche, Shane Fleeman, Helen B., Ashley Elizabeth, Bazil Canoe, Sarah Santoro, Reverend Nate, Laura Elise, Marita Espada, Emma Jones, Sharon Campbell, I know Sharon, Diana J., Ethan Harrison, Zach, Jenny Bibley, Peyton, Shayna, Deb Sophia, Adrian Vasil, Jillian Zhao, Coco Garza, Alicia, and that is it. Oh my gosh, I'm so bad at reading names, so forgive me. But thank you guys so much for joining up with the Patreon. I'll have the link below if anybody's interested. we just talk books over there. You know, it's pretty fun. And I was that's pretty much going to be it for me this month. I was maybe going to go over to the bookstore today because I actually don't have any current reads going on right now. I obviously have a lot of books that I could just choose my next read from, but there's something fun about going book shopping when you don't have any current reads and you know you could just start reading whatever you pick up that day. There's a different energy about it that I love. So I'm maybe going to go do that today. We'll see. I do have a lot to do. I'm not sure. I love you. Thank you for watching this. Bye.